Well, hello, I'm Dr. Larry Carnes. Welcome to Books of the Month. We're excited to have you with us today. We have a very special guest, Mr. John Kaufman, who's going to be here with us. John, how are you today, sir?
It's early here, but I'm doing great for this time of the morning.
When you say here, where are you?
Tucson, Arizona.
It is early in Tucson.
Yes, it is. But it's nice weather. Nice to get up this early and have my coffee. It is.
Excellent. We're so excited to have you as our special guest today. Do this for us. Introduce yourself to our viewing audience. Let them know a little bit about who John is.
Ooh, I grew up in a dairy farm. I didn't like it very much. I have a degree in education. I was a teacher. I was Teacher of the Year. That was an honor. You had to be there 3 years in order to get Teaching of the Year. And some people had been there for 1,000 years and never gotten it. On my third year, I got Teacher of the Year. So that's a good place in my heart.
Yeah.
Then I eventually moved to Tucson, Arizona, where I love, and I've stayed here. I've lived in other places, but Tucson's my home right now.
Excellent. Excellent. We're so excited to have you with us. You've written this fascinating book, Messages from God, The Complicated Road to Sainthood, Life After Death. I found that so fascinating as I was reviewing it. Here's a question. Are you looking for some answers? This book of poetic reflections and musings will have you looking at life, death, and our soul's connection to God, life, and the hereafter. In the foreword, you say something that I thought was just amazing. In a world filled with depression and sadness, I have stood at life's edge, yelling at humanity that I was going to jump to end the madness that was the psychopath world that was ongoing insanity inside my head. I have spent most days of my life listening to the echoes of my father's voice as I stood at life's edge, him yelling at me, jump. Nobody cares. All those countless times throughout my life, I prayed for God to give me the strength to jump. Wow. Talk to us about this book.
Wow, just hearing you say that upsets me back. You know, I grew up in the dairy farm. My father was not the best father. He was a provider, but he never liked me, I came to the conclusion. And so all my life, when he was alive, I tried to please him, tried to get on his good side. I never could do that. But that particular moment was I was up in the silo on the farm, and he had been yelling at me, which he did all the time. And I yelled, I'm going to jump. And that's when he said, jump. No one cares. I didn't jump, as you can see. But I spent most of my life wanting to jump. I'm anorexic. When I say stupid, if you read my books, you're going to find that my life, especially in Messages from God, it was about Benny, but more it was to lead into Benny. You had to see my whole life and my talkings and workings with God in order to see, when I got to the Benny point, that I was even more confused with God. So I'll get to the main story. Other than my life going through there, it comes to a point where I meet this man that has AIDS. And when I shook his hand, I said, and it's in the book, in my heart and in my head, I'm going to be the best friend I can be to this human being as I possibly can. I believe in commitments. Yeah, so I took on that commitment. And so for the next 3 years, I took on being the best friend I could be to this Benny. And it ended up, he was in a hospital bed in his living room. And that night that he died, I was in the bedroom and I sat up quick in my bed because I heard God say to me, get up, what about Benny? And so I walked out into the living room and I stood probably 15 feet from his hospital bed laying there. And when my eyes, 5:30 in the morning, the sun's coming through, so I could see it all really well. It's kind of dark, but where my eyes looked where his head should be, his legs were. And so I followed his legs up and he was sitting on top of the hospital bed. Now, he was 60 pounds. He was blood. He was a horrible mess. But when I looked up and came, my eyes met his eyes, the most brilliant, I'm telling you, the most brilliant heavenly holy light shot out of his eyes and hit me. 2 streams just out of his eyes. And then he opened his mouth and this light just shot at me. And I actually stepped back. And in the silence, I heard him say, "It's about time you got up. I've been waiting for you."
Wow. Powerful. Powerful. Powerful.
And he was beautiful. He sat up there and he was the most beautiful person you could ever imagine. So that's what the book describes. And it goes on to, relate to why me?
Yeah.
Why me? Out of all the stories about people that have, visions or whatever, but this is as real as it could be. It'll always be real to me. My heart just patters whenever I think about it. But again, I have to tell you, this person who was 70 pounds, couldn't walk, his mouth covered up with blood, was beautiful up there. And all of a sudden he was gone, and there he laid in the bed.
Yeah.
I went over and I felt him, and I checked his urine bag to see it was warm. He was warm. So God allowed him to thank me for being the best friend I could be to this person that I could be. I took care of him for 3 years. I loved him for 3 years. And that was just out of my commitment to be the best person I could be.
Now that speaks volumes. During those times of life, those seasons of life, when most people would abandon people, God used you as an instrument, as a tool, as an extension of his love, to show mercy, to show compassion, and to show love toward this person. You have some fascinating things in the book. I was looking here, one of the chapters that's addressed, it says a matter of soul. Talk to us about that. A matter of soul, then sensible shoes and life lessons. Speak to us about just a little bit about that, so that our viewing audience would know why they need to go get this book.
Well, here's a book. If you can see this.
Yes.
This book, Mind, Heart, and Soul Connection, is my second book after Messages from God. And in here, I speak of the emptiness in people's lives because we only use our brain. And once you start saying that the brain reflects what the heart does, and the heart then messages the soul then will get you to where you're supposed to go, wherever that is. You decide. But that's where it'll go. I'm not a man of picking out religions because I think any beliefs are good. So if you have a religion and it serves you, then your soul will be taken care of. That's my advice to all humanity.
Wow.
You'll be okay if you're okay. And if you're not okay, your soul's in trouble.
That's interesting. Talk to us about life's lessons. Let our viewing audience know why they need to go and pick up this fascinating book, Life's Lessons. That speaks volumes. What's that?
Message from God is such a smorgasbord of my life and things that happen through my life, that I'm always talking to God and trying to learn the lessons, even when sometimes I didn't even know that God was there, but I still kept talking to him. And even after the Benny story, it just makes me so believe in something, but I still haven't fastened it down, other than to just take care of my soul and hope it delivers me to where I'm supposed to be going.
My God. God's silence and then murmurs whisper speaks volumes. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Being a crazy person, I always had to go into that depressive anxiety state that I grew up in because of my terrible childhood. It was all foreign to me. As I say in the book, I was born into a world in shoes that I didn't want to wear. And we all are born into a world and we get our shoes.
Yes.
But But sometimes you think if I would have had different shoes, I would have walked a different path.
Yeah.
So, it was always about wanting to be someplace other than I was in the hurting, and still today, I'm always been depressed, but I say in the books, that didn't stop me from having a mind, heart, and soul connection. That just means I was a little depressed about things. So my soul doesn't show any of that. It could feel those hurts in times, but that's not what my soul's for. It's delivering. It's got to deliver me out of this life to something bigger than this is, and I believe that.
Wow, that is so powerful. Now you have some other fascinating books. Talk to us about your other books before we end our session.
We're coming to the end already. I think I could talk to you all day. First of all, I'm in this month's, can you see that?
Yes.
Ford magazine, which they picked 6 people just to put in the book. And out of all the world, why me? But I'm in there. So that's a blessing. Where do blessings come from? I don't know. This was a blessing. It came to me. Then my first book I wrote was
Yes.
Gold Coins. The follow-up on that was You're Not Dead
Powerful.
Until Someone Finds Your Corpse. I used to say it was a children's book, but it's an everybody's book about children. So it's about Mildred and Bonnie Lou Starr, who Mel's grandfathers go way back as ministers in the church. And the story has always been that one of his great-great-grandfathers found a whole load of gold and buried it. So Mel, at about 12, and his friend Bonnie started out on a quest to find the gold.
Wow.
It's a moving book too, but I wrote it. So
that's great.
Now we're talking about maybe making these into movies. So
that would be powerful. And I'm sure that our viewing audience are very interested. Listen, we have 1.5 minutes left. Take 60 seconds.
Wait, I want to show you one more book.
Well, we just 1 minute left. Take 60 seconds and disseminate to our viewing audience any contact information, how they can get in touch with you. 60 seconds.
My website or my blog area is www.John, John, Kaufman, Kaufman, books, books.com. www.johnkaufmanbooks.com.
Excellent.
This has been so fun, and I stressed a little bit over with my anxiety, but you're a wonderful guy. You make me feel comfortable, and this has been a pleasure.
It's our pleasure to have you with us as a guest. Thank you for sharing your life. Thank you for sharing the intimacies of that time when God allowed you to be the extension of his love, the extension of his grace, to foster someone, to go on the journey with someone for 3 years. We are thankful that you didn't jump, so thank you for not jumping. We want to thank you for being our guest with us.
Well, I want to say it was my pleasure, and thank you. And read my books. They'll entertain you at best. So they're good.
Excellent. So for our viewing audience, make sure that you can get the books as John shared the information. You can also go to Amazon. I'm Dr. Larry Carnes. It's been our pleasure to have you here with us for Books of the Month. Join us again right here next time for Books of the Month.